everyone, it's R4nk, aka the Firefish Guy, and this is kind of a tier list for the rank 4s in hot format. The generic rank 4s that only take 2 monsters because, well, all of the ones that take 3 monsters are bad, so no real point in this. But yeah, this is, well, it's a tier list mostly because like it's easier for me to make and it's more favored by the algorithm and it's probably more enjoyable, but this is more of an expansion and publicization. How do you? Oh, it's me making a resource I made more broadly available. Pretty much, I made a post that I would consider useful. It's pinned in the hot formats deck building channel, and it talks about all of the different rank 4s in the format and their niche and when you should play them, so on and so forth. And this is kind of this in video format. Before we start, join my Discord, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, all that good shit. Anyways, starting off with the rank 4s that you would play if you have free spots in the extra deck and you don't need any specific rank 4s that synergize with your deck. Well, the first two you should play regardless if you can make rank 4s. It's 101 and Exciton. They're just the best. And also Dweller. These guys, pretty much if you can make rank 4s somewhat consistently, they are 100% staples. And, well, Dweller isn't as much of a staple if you can only make rank 4s every once in a while, but yeah, pretty much always play this. 101 and Exciton cover so much of the format together. They pretty much every board should be measured up to how 101 and Exciton can deal with it. Any monster. That's why you play, you know, it's why you don't always set all of your back row. Sometimes in a grand game, if you have more stuff than your opponent, it's Exciton. It's why, especially, you don't play stuff like Draco Sack or Giant Hand in attack, or can't think of other stuff off the top of my head, but oh yeah, Lead Yoke. You don't always want to summon it in attack position, for example. These guys are extremely influential in the format, and Dweller is extremely good versus Mermels and Hands, and yeah, they're also very good versus other decks like I don't know, Manolce, Lightsworn variants. Let's see what else. It's very good versus. Yeah, well, can be kinda decent versus artifacts. It's good versus Sylvans, but mainly Mermels and Hands. Those are the two main things it's supposed to kill, especially Mermel, and also Infernity, that too. But yeah, if you can make rank 4s consistently, these guys are auto includes, and honestly, all three you could make an argument to run 2. Depends on the deck. Like Exciton, especially, for example, Hunters really like playing 2. Infernity often plays 2-1-1 or 2 Exciton. Dweller, not so common. It's mainly if you're really concerned about Marvel. The only deck where I've seen it somewhat commonly is Madolce. But yeah, these guys auto includes. Then the 4th slot, it's kinda dependent on the deck synergy, but not really. It's the only situation where you shouldn't play it if you have the space for it, and even then you sometimes might want to play it even in that case, is if you don't run Soul Charge, because this is mainly what you use this for. You play this, banish your opponent's stuff, so maybe they want the rulers in the grave, or maybe they want stuff for Soul Charge in the grave, whatever it might be. you use Soul Charge, you make this, and you attach it. Because by itself it's pretty weak, but even by itself sometimes it's good. With index like Madolches, sometimes you make it with Levier, and it's good. So yeah, but still, I will definitely consider this the fourth rank 4 you should play in your extra deck, if you have the space for it. And the number 5 slot will be Black Sheep of Corn. This one I often don't have the space for, but Black Sheep is kinda like downgrade 101, except it counters some defense position monsters, mainly the hands, and sometimes even Zen mains, which Gilgas always run. But it's mostly for the hands and opposing 101, so you don't use your own 101. But if you run two 101s, often that is better. Depends. But yeah, the sixth card I will play is probably a second 101 or Ragna Zero. I'm gonna put it in B because it's nowhere near as good. But yeah, this is another one that doesn't really have synergy requirements per se. Is a good rank 4, but nowhere near as good as these guys, obviously. It's mainly for Bujins, Fire Fists, Madolches, Kokimerus, pretty much any deck that runs Tanky and Madolches. Those are the main things that Ragna Zero hits, but when it does hit, it's very, very strong. Next we have the more deck-dependent ones. I'm gonna start with Lavalval Chain. Lavalval Chain, obviously, it's very, very good if you need to hit the graveyard, pretty much, to send stuff in the graveyard. So decks like Infernity, love it, Heraldics, love it, Night Swarms, and Hat can also run it just to unbrick Dionia. Just Hat wouldn't run it in any other variant, really. Some decks can run it as a niche option, but yeah. There's also like Spirits to trigger Nikitama and to stack BLS, for example. Memorals can run it to send Tidal. Or the Nimbos if you run them. There's a lot of use cases for Lavalval Chain, but obviously not every deck wants to run it. Next, let's see. Cowboy, pretty good example of a deck of a deck-dependent card. Pretty much, you want to run this in decks that commonly attack with 2 level 4s. So, for example, you don't want to play it in Artifact Trap Tricks decks, especially Cat, because your main way into rank 4s are Soul Charge and Ionia, and with those two cards you are never gonna attack with 2 level 4s in one turn. So Cowboy isn't really gonna come up. There's not too many situations where Cowboy would have come up where Black Sheep wouldn't have, and you don't need it to close games as much. But if you have decks like Kohimeru, Constellars, Evil Swarms, even Madolches, decks that often attack with 2 level 4s, then Cowboy becomes a lot stronger, and I would say not to include in some of those decks, but pretty close to it overall. Kind of on the opposite boat, we have Heartland Draco. Heartland Draco is better on decks that don't attack with 2 monsters often, but the biggest synergy with it is if you run continuous spells, obviously. But besides that, it's less deck dependent than Cowboy. Pretty much any rank 4 deck can run it, and it will sometimes come up. Unless you have like a crazy strong removal option like Noche Magellan, Tiramisu, for example. Next, let's see. Legusta Emerald. kind of self-explanatory, like Lava Bubble Chain. Some decks like to recycle stuff. Obviously, you really need to want to do that because you're still committing rank 4 for something that is in most cases not that strong. But obviously, like the main example of a deck that you would want to run legumes to emerald in is a deck that runs hands, because obviously you want to sometimes shuffle all your hands back in the deck. But yeah. And another good one, Demandar Wolf. Obviously, if you want to, if you run Beasts or Beast Warrior or Wind Beast, you're probably gonna run this. But even besides that, pretty much if you want to break back rows, it's good with Soul Charge. It's a bit less deck dependent, but still, it's good if you need an extra deck out to back rows. Pretty much. Next, for more niche stuff, we have like Cargorgorn. Cargorgorn, well, it was played in Hat back in the day, but it's not as common nowadays. It's pretty much a sitting duck. But there is one deck that really likes it, and it's the Query Boxers. And pretty much any deck that runs Floodgates or Towers monsters would want to run this if they can summon it. Then one of my favorite niche options, definitely Crazy Box. This guy is for skill drain. If you get skill drained, use Crazy Box. You get a tricky beater, and they often can't do shit about it. Pretty much depends on how many skill drain outs your deck has, how much your deck hates skill drain. For example, I would never play this in a hot deck because they have a lot of outs to skill drain any sort of artifact trap tricks deck. But I would definitely 100% play it in like Fire Fists because they don't really have a skill drain out. They don't play it. At least I don't play it. I prefer like Lance and Wiretap over MST in Fire Fists or Gyoko. So skill drain can be a big issue for the deck. The Crazy Box fixes that. Then another niche one that a lot of people are surprised that it still has a niche in the format, Maestroke. You look at this and you say, why would they run this over second 1-1? Well, the thing is, Maestroke is better if your opponent has a lot of back rows, because there's a good chance they have Triple Nightmare, Bottomless Triple, Torrential doesn't matter, Breakfast Skill, all of those cards that, well, in the case of Bottomless Triple, this goes through, and the 1-1 cannot remove with Bottomless Triple. And in the case of Triple Nightmare or Breakthrough Skill or even Effect Veiler, Maestroke is gonna be left with one more material than 1-1 would be. So versus Triple Nightmare, it lives. Versus the Breakthrough Skill, it still has one material to give it some protection. So yeah, it does have some situations where it's better than 1-1. Pretty much if your deck fears back row really badly, you might want to consider Maestroke. Next, Giant Hand. That's another good one. This is pretty much if you can afford to just use a rank 4 for a negate. That's it, pretty much. If you can afford to have a rank 4 not for removal or a proactive play, and you can just use it for a reactive play, and you don't need to use it for setup or follow-up either, with like Lava Ball Chain or Emerald or King of the Feral Imps, you can make a Giant Hand. It's good. Speaking of King of the Feral Imps, you play it if you play Reptiles. Very self-explanatory. Then we have like Stillstorm Roach. This is also very niche. D-tier is pretty much very niche. C is niche, B is good, A is great, S is amazing, and F is bad. You shouldn't play the ones in F, but D. Roach, it's good if you really hate Synchros for some reason. That's pretty much it. And pretty much no deck has room for it. And combo decks are not that strong, and often Dweller also fucks them over. So Roach is not that good. Then there's Merrowgeist. I have to say, shoutouts to who was it? Fuck. Yeah, Necropants for running it in Gladiator Beast, and he says it comes up. Absolute Giga Chad move. Pretty much Merrowgeist is if you really hate Geargy Armor and you really hate hands, and you want to make sure that whatever it is, you hit it. Because like if you versus Geargy hands, if they have face down, you never know if it's a Geargy Armor or if it's a 101 or if it's a fire hand. So like option A would be, you know, run into it with 101 because it runs over either, it leaves either, but it's kind of a waste. You know, so Merrowgeist outs whatever it is, doesn't matter. Also outs Ice Hand in a grind game if you have back rows or other monsters, so you cannot do that with 101. So yeah, it's very niche, but it does have a niche. So D tier. Next we have Go Goliath. You play it in Roxanne. So there is one deck that plays it. Same thing with Gemini Pearl, but mainly here because like it does actually have one niche in the format besides Roxanne. That is it gets over Finish Chain. Now Finish Chain isn't the most relevant card, isn't the most threatening of cards, but if for some reason you need to inflict 2600 or if you need to attack with something big and they have one back row and the only thing that will stop you would be Finish Chain, that you know they are playing because like you assume they aren't playing a random Deep Prison or Mirror Force, you could summon Gemini Pearl. I've never seen anyone run it, but besides in Roxanne, but you could. Then we go into the F tier. First off, Photon Papil Operative, because this one was actually relevant at one point in time in history. Just power crap. It's just completely power crap. There is no reason to run this in the format at all. None whatsoever. Like, honestly, Merrowgeist is just better Papil Operative in the format. Usually you have like stuff like Dweller, Flagship, Diamond Wolf, more importantly. Merrowgeist, for example. You know, there's a lot of options better than Papil Operative. Next, Utopia, you don't need it. It's just a big beat stick. Steelist, there's no 1-1, there's no C39, but still, no real reason. Kachikochi Dragon, we don't have Samurai Gagaga, so you could technically run it, but at that point you should just run Heartland Draco. Does generally the same thing. If you need to out multiple monsters, often you can do that with 1-1 or with Exiton or sometimes even 1-1. No real reason to run it. Sky Pegasus, no reason to run it. It's just terrible. Everyone knows how terrible Sky Pegasus is. If you don't know, detach from material, target an opponent's card. The opponent chooses whether they pay 1,000 or let you destroy it. Actually, does it destroy a card? It destroys one. It targets one face-up monster the opponent controls. Hold it. It's so fucking bad. My god. Like, It's so bad. It's like the power glove. Then we have like Zubaba General. You could run it in level 4 warrior decks. Too bad those don't exist. They just don't. This is terrible. Pretty much you equip a warrior monster from the hand and it gains that monster's attack, and it's a 2k, so I guess it gets big, but it's not worth it. Zenmeister, no deck runs it in the format. If you are for some reason to make a rank 4 based spellbook deck, then Blue Boy is a good target for it. That's it. The fact that Georgia doesn't play it is pretty telling. And Princess Cologne, nobody plays Box of Friends. And Dragonity Jin, pretty much the only deck that can play it are decks that can make rank 4s and that have a worthwhile target, which is usually red MD. And the only deck that fits that criteria is Chaos Dragons, and Chaos Dragons are really bad in the format. So yeah. Yeah, in pretty much to round this off, whatever your deck needs that has synergies with, pick one of these guys. Pretty much Lava Chain, Cowboy, R4nk, Draco. Okay, so Lava Chain if you need to dump stuff in the graveyard, Cowboy if you attack with multiple level 4s, Draco if you think it would come up or if you run continuous spells, Emerald if you run hands or anything else you would want to shuffle, Diamond Wolf if you want to pop back rows or run beasts, beast warriors or winged beasts, Crazy Box if you fear skill drain, Giant Hand if you can afford to use a rank 4 on just a reactive play, Kergogon if you need to protect something from targeting really bad like a Floodgate, Mace Stroke if you fear back rows a lot, King of the Feral Imps if you run reptiles, obviously. Still some Roach if you hate synchros for some reason, but shouldn't really. Merolgeist if you hate hands and Geargas very much. Go Goliath if you're running Rockstun, and Gemnite Pearl if you really hate Finish Chain for some reason. Besides that, 101 and Nexiton are just the best. Then Dollar is the third one you should include. Rhapsody is the fourth one. Number 4. Black Sheep is number 5, and number 6 is arguably either Ragna Zero or second 101. What you should include. And just keep in mind that Rhapsody is you can skip Rhapsody if you don't play Soul Charge. Go straight to Black Ship. But yeah, that would be my guide to rank 4s, to generic rank 4s in hot format. Yeah, that's it from me. If you like, subscribe, join Discord again. Only 10% of the viewers are subscribed. And yeah, goodbye.